Absent-minded gamer here. Hey, we're back for episode 23 of 5 Random Airports and Airfields. And this week we're going to take a look at abandoned German airfields in both France and Germany. Mostly in Germany. But the first one we're going to open up with here is Juvencourt, which would have seen service between 1938 and 1945. The runway was actually built by the French and then was seized by the Germans during the Battle of France and was used throughout the war by a German Air Force. I will provide you with the coordinates of what I'm seeing here. The coordinates are a little off, but they get you close into the runway. And this, what you have to understand is that this airport or airfield was actually 3 runways in size at one point. So it covered a lot of real estate. And I'm guessing what I'm looking at is remnants of what Juvencourt was throughout the war. From what I understand, the Allies actually used this airfield after they took it from the Germans. Between 1944 and 1945. So there is that. But I found pictures of it, older pictures of it. And this is what I could kind of match up. There's a lot to see here. And yeah, this was clearly one of the runways. Looks like it is used for a variety of other things, and that would have been the 3rd runway, I'm guessing. The airport housed a slew of German fighters, bombers, and even the Me-262 during the war. What I found interesting about this is that the actual coordinates put you out over there. But we're in the right area, and I mean, obviously this is it. I believe this is the town of Juvencourt over here. Or I may have gotten my bearings messed up here too, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe that is the town of Juvencourt. So, all in all, it's a pretty large area when you look at it. And it blends in well with the existing terrain, so it was kind of hard to make out because my coordinates put me somewhere totally different and further away from this town. Yeah, actually, I think my coordinates put me up closer to that town up there. So I'm guessing, I think I'm going to double check this. So I checked Google Earth, and yes, this puts the coordinates here as being Juvencourt. So this would have been Juvencourt Airfield. When the French built it, it was 3 grass strips, or I'm sorry, it was a grass airfield, and then when the Germans came in, they made this into a major airbase and put in I want to say the 3 runways were already there, and then the Germans put concrete down and made an actual airbase out of it. But that is going to be it for Juvencourt Airfield. We're floating around above it in the Jenny. And I thought we would go ahead and take it around and bring it around and land. Now, I did see some pictures. They use some of the parts of the runway for RC planes and that kind of thing. I find it strange that being such a large piece of property that they would not utilize this anymore as, you know, some kind of airfield. Interesting nonetheless. What I find really interesting are these parking areas. They're aircraft, obviously parking for aircraft, and their design. I was only able to find one picture of the actual airfield, and it looked like a picture taken by a reconnaissance plane during World War II. Yeah, now that's probably where they fly the RC planes, RC Club or whatever. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go for a quick little flight here. Okay, so as we're looking at this, I want to make it very clear that from what I'm researching, that is what I think, what I believe is Juvencourt. So, based on what I've seen online, given the information that I've given you, that looks to be, it's definitely an abandoned airfield. The original coordinates that I had put me somewhere different, but I believe this to be Juvencourt. So we're gonna just bring this little puppy around and we'll go ahead and land on what's left of the runway. Alright. Well, hey, that's going to do it for Juvencourt. I'll put the coordinates at the bottom of the screen so you can go check it out too. Next up is going to be Schönwald, and this will be located actually in Germany, and the next 4 airfields are all located in Germany. So this particular airfield was utilized from 1934 to 1954, and quite a bit of it is still there. You can still make out where the runway was. As far as structures, I'm not seeing any. But you can see the road network leading to it and away from it. Yeah, that was most definitely a runway at some point in time. Alright, so what I've found, and there are a lot of images because apparently a lot of this particular airbase is still standing. And it's totally abandoned. So what you're looking at here would have been the terminal areas, the base, where the base of operations was. The buildings, of course, don't look this modern. They're all pretty decrepit and, well, they're abandoned, so there's that. But this would be your main area. I'm assuming that is probably the runway, and there was maybe another runway here. But I don't know. I found a lot of pictures, but I can't find any pictures of the actual runways themselves. I found an old World War II, looked like another aerial view of the airport, but it only shows the base area and the structures. So that's what we're looking at there. Man, what a crazy place that would be to go visit. Because there's a lot of buildings that look like this. And I was actually able to match a lot of this up to the photo. So that is Schönwald. That is really impressive. What this must have been just, we're just outside of Berlin, I believe. Berlin's not too far away. So I know there's going to be somebody out there that probably knows a heck of a lot more about this than I do. But I am limited by time and what I can find on the internet. So what I have found on the internet, and this I believe to be Schönwald. And if you get a chance, Google it and look at the images of the old airbase. And I would love to see something like this. So anyways, we're going to be in the 152 for this short little flight. I wanted to pick something that would be easy to land with obstructions on what I'm going to use for the runway. And what do we got here? Looks like a little bridge with a possible checkpoint going into the base. Huh. Fascinating. Really, really fascinating. So let's go ahead and do this flight. And wow, I mean, you think of the amount of space this place took up, and that it's just sitting there abandoned to this day. Alright, well, let's go ahead and go for a quick little flight. So, as you have noticed, I am not starting on the runway like I normally do, and I'm doing that because there's no way to put the plane on the ground unless I land it first, and I don't really want to. That'll end up taking a lot of time, so we're just gonna start in the air on each one of these and fly around, and we'll try to make our landings at what used to be the airstrips. I'm assuming that used to be the airstrip. Well, we're gonna circle back around what's left of the base. You know, it's funny. If you ever wanted to go on vacation and just go to places like this, I've done a lot of like old west towns. I've gone to places like Bodie, Virginia City, and ghost towns way out in the middle of the desert, Mojave, parts of Death Valley, and the Sierra Nevadas. But man, I could plan a vacation around going to places like this. I mean, I enjoy this kind of thing. I love seeing old buildings. I love taking pictures of old buildings. Watch that airspeed. Oh boy, I'm almost stalled out here. Got some trees. I think if I'd looked hard enough, I probably could have found I probably could have found some images of the airfield the way it looked back then. But I really wanted to see what it looked like now to see what's left. But I think mainly what is left is probably the base itself, the air base. So there's that. Let's go ahead and check out the next one. Next up is going to be Rangsdorf, and this one is also in Germany. This particular airfield was in operation from 1936 all the way to 1994. I will provide the coordinates at the bottom of the screen so you can visit this place as well. You can still make out the grass airstrips and most of the base, or that would have been the base, the structures and parking areas for the aircraft. So this is pretty interesting, really, because I didn't think that there was going to be that much left here. But given that this was used until 1994, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Rangsdorf actually opened just before the 1936 Olympics, and this airfield is also known as was instrumental in the attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler during the war, and this would have been where Stauffenberg and Haften flew from to go to Kürzen to have a meeting with him, where Stauffenberg attempted to assassinate Hitler. So there's a little history here. You imagine how much different things would have been, or how the war would have been different if they had succeeded. But it's interesting. And if you go look at this base online, you'll see some really good images. Everything is abandoned here, and it's worth a look. So, okay, we are in the Cub, and we're going to just come in and we'll just use this as our airfield here and land. Alright, there's a pretty good aerial view of it. And this is designated as an airfield, so I'm assuming that means that this was mostly just grass landing strips. See if we can fit between those trees over there. Alright, well that's it for Rangsdorf. Pretty impressive, really. On to the next. Next up is going to be Eschborn Airfield. Eschborn Airfield was in use from 1945 to 1992, and after the Germans were done with it in World War II, and West Germany became West Germany and East Germany became East, the USA used this particular airfield for their operations. Not a whole lot left here. Nothing that I can see. It looks like old taxiways. The structures are still there. Again, this is going to be another one. It'll be interesting to go look at Google Images to see what's actually left. But I'm assuming the runway was maybe over here somewhere. I don't know. There is this over here, but that seems like it's kind of far away. But that could have been. But there's nothing that shows distinctly what was the airstrip. And then you also have this area over here, which looks like that could have been part of the airfield, the air operations. Possibly. I'm not sure. But that definitely looks... That definitely is part of the old airfield. And I would assume this as well. I mean, that looks... I mean, some of those buildings look pretty run down just from the imagery. But I could be wrong. Might have been an area of the airfield that was added later on. Because you're right in the middle of the city here. So it's interesting that so much of this is still standing. Alright, well, we're not going to really have anywhere to land this time around, so we're going to just fly over it and see if there's something that I've missed here. Alright, so let's take a look here. I need a little more throttle. I end up stalling out here. Okay, I don't know what I'm looking at over there, but that didn't look right. I've already lost it. There it is. So that's what I suspect was part of the airfield.
500.
And then this over here. See that right there, that big green strip. That looks... I mean, that could have all been... I guess I'll have to look and see what I can see here. The imagery that I found showed this as a pretty large operation. So, um, which all of it is abandoned now. I'm curious as to what that mess is down there. I'll show you here in a second. Not down there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's one of those Microsoft Flight Simulator scenery glitches. Yeah, that. Right there. That just looks funny. How is that not a fixable problem? Anyways. So, that's going to do it for Eschborn. I don't really know what else I could talk about here. We have a location, and like I said, I will put the locations down in the corner, just like I put the IACO codes, but all of these except one have coordinates only, and the next one up will that will have an IACO code because I found some scenery for it to turn it back into a functioning airfield. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one, shall we? And lastly, we have Tempelhof. And this is going to be Edward, David, Ida. And in Flight Simulator, you can go to this airport by use of the coordinates, and I will supply both. But you can also go to flightsim.to and download a scenery file for Tempelhof, making it an active airport again. So, anyways, this particular airfield was in operation from 1923 all the way to 2008. It is just outside of Berlin. And as you can see, it takes up lots of real estate. So, let's just go ahead and take a look and see what we can see. And this was a major commercial airport for many years. And then all the original structures are there, though I believe it is all abandoned now. And the scenery file adds in all the extra airplanes, especially the ones that are parked inside the building. So, actually, I don't believe it's the scenery file doing that. I believe it is probably the FSTL Live that is parking these airplanes where they're parking them, because Flight Simulator now sees this as an active runway. So, not a lot to see here. You can see where whatever they're using the building for now. You can see all the scrap outside. It is not the hub that it used to be. And I do not know the story as to why it shut down. But it was quite the airport. Oops. There we go. Alright, and this also has two asphalt runways. And it would have had rail nearby. And a rather large rail yard, which was probably something that was used during the war. And I don't know what this looked like during the war. I did not see any pictures. I know there's a lot of pictures out there, but I did not see any. I didn't look for them. So maybe I'll go do that right now. Find Tempelhof was the name was actually derived from the Knights of the Templar, because this where the runway was built is said to be Knights of the Templar ground. That's what I read, and so they named the airport Tempelhof. It was built back in the 1920s and used as a civilian airport for many years until the war, and then the Germans, of course, utilized it during World War II. And at the end of World War II, the German commander that was in charge here, um, he was ordered to blow up the terminal buildings and blow up and basically destroy the airport. And he defied those orders. He killed himself, and Tempelhof remained. So this is what you see now. You can still see lots of little interesting things here in the trees. Like there's a parked airplane there, some structures. It's fascinating to me. That's going to be it for Tempelhof. We're going to go ahead and fly the Junker. I figured that would be aircraft appropriate for this last, or for this final airport here in Germany. Germany is really interesting because there are a lot of abandoned airfields, bases, and many of them are still they exist to today, and they're just simply abandoned structures. Like over here, you could see there were structures over here at one time. Looks like a really long taxiway, and with probably more terminal buildings, perhaps. There are pictures of the U.S. military utilizing this air base or airport. The C-17, I believe it was a C-17 out of Dover, flew into here. And now you're like right up on the, it goes from airfield to residential really fast. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go for a quick flight, shall we? And again, there is a lot of information on these airports if you want to go check them out on Google. Read up on their history. Germany has been pretty impressive. It was far more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because I didn't know so many of these places would still exist in the state that they do. It's been a really fun video to make. Anyway, there's a lot to explore here. I can understand why they probably shut this airport down, given its close proximity to the city, and smaller runways was probably the biggest thing. What I read was that they used it mainly for commuter flights to different German towns and cities before shutting it down. That's Tempelhof. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this week's episode of 5 Random Airports and Airfields. And I'm going to try to come up with something creative next week. Maybe we'll head to Japan and look for abandoned, or some of the occupied areas that the Japanese use for that would be now abandoned airfields, airports, air bases, and whatnot. But I've got a few days to think about that, so we'll just go from there. But I hope you've enjoyed this little look into the abandoned world of Germany and its abandoned airfields, airports, air bases. This has actually become quite a challenge. I really enjoy doing these because it's, granted you can go online and you can get most of these coordinates, but to be able to match them up is pretty darn cool using Flight Simulator. I mean, you could never have done this with Flight Simulator 10 or Prepare 3D because of the generic textures, but because we're using I'm using Bing Maps or whatever it is, Flight Simulator, I'm able to go and look and I can see what, we all get to see what's there in real time. So that's pretty cool. So if you've enjoyed this video and I've inspired you to go check out any one of these airfields, or even inspired you to fly this airplane, I have done my job. And I really appreciate all you viewers for taking the time to watch my videos, hitting the like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I want to keep doing more of these. So honestly, as long as there's Flight Simulator, we'll keep doing more. I do kind of enjoy doing other game videos, but Flight Simulator seems to be the thing for me to do right now. I do want to put a plug in on a game that I did recently purchase on the Steam sale. It is called Destroyer, the U-Boat Hunter. And anybody that enjoys World War II naval ship combat, this is real-time U-boat hunting. And it kind of reminds me of some of the old SSI titles that we used to play back in the day. The old U-boat games, and I think Destroyer Command was the other one. But this puts you in command of a destroyer, and you go U-boat hunting. It is so much fun. I was going to make a video, but the NVIDIA YouTube thing doesn't, or not YouTube, I'm sorry. The NVIDIA game capture does not work with that particular game yet. So I've got an adapter I need to find, and as soon as I do it, I'll make a video. But you can get this game for I think it's 15 bucks right now. It's early access, but it's worth it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm not plugging the game because I got it for free. I paid the 15 bucks for it. I just like the game that much. I spent 3 hours the other night hunting U-boats. And then I ended up plowing into one of my escort ships. And it was just really cool. So check it out if you want. It's on Steam. Just Destroyer, the U-boat hunter. It's good stuff. And they have you can access their Facebook page. Just let them know that the absent-minded gamer sent them your way if you take a look at that game. Or you end up picking it up before the sale's over. Okay, well, that's going to do it for my endless rattling today, I think. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a lot of fun to make. I think I've said that all already. You all have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. That's cute. I'm seeing what I'm seeing there. They have hovercraft here. Wow. That's hilarious. Alright, well, we're going to park it right here. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great day.